What's up, y'all? It's Kenny Cummins here. It's part of the Chillin' Anniversary Month. And my first guest to kick things off is a hip hop artist from Texas. He has a EP out called Average Joe, and he goes by the name of T Well. He's with me right now. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, somebody linked me to your page, and so I was just excited to get in and kind of chit chat with you for a few.
And that individual just so happens to be A.R. Green.
Yes.
Shout out to him. He got some Kentucky ties. He's lived in Kentucky, but he's a Texan by heart, and he's doing a lot to help out in the hip hop community locally in the area. So I've been interviewing a variety of Texas hip hop artists over the last month or so, and you are the latest in that group. So definitely look forward to having a chat with you. So talk about your journey as far as getting into being a recording artist, getting into hip hop.
Well, I grew up listening to all kinds of music. My parents introduced me to a lot of different music, and I think it kind of helped pique my interest. Um, I started writing when I was um, probably around 12, as far as hip hop was concerned, or like spoken poetry. I really liked poetry in school, and it just kind of led from a poetry assignment to, hey, I like to do this. And I remember writing um, like funny songs when I was a kid, like silly like rhymes and stuff like that, and it just kind of progressed from there. Um, I moved to I was living in Alaska. I lived in Alaska for 4 years, and my dad passed away. And whenever he did, we moved back to Texas, and I think that's where I really found like a relief in it, something to be able to keep my mind off of things. And uh, when I was about 13, I stumbled upon rap. Um, it was like a hip hop battle scene. There's a website called Let's Beef, and I stumbled upon it. I didn't have no mic, no nothing, but you could text battle people. You could like text like disses back and forth to people, and so I started doing that. And I did it closeted till I was about 17, and then I started, getting out into the public and going to parties and stuff like that in high school. And, I started freestyling, and people kind of encouraged me, and it just kind of kept going from there. I really haven't started what I would consider a professional career until 2021. That's when I released my first single on a major platform. But that's kind of where I come from. And now the ball's just now getting rolling after about a year and a half, going on 2 years of actually producing or recording music, that things are actually starting to feel like they're going somewhere.
Yeah, feels like poetry was hip hop minus the beat. That's what it felt for a lot of
Yeah.
artists. That's how people can get their feelings out, express themselves. It's a form of expression.
Yes.
It's definitely some people may not have went that route. They just listen to hip hop, and then some people like yourself got into poetry first. And poetry is so underrated these days as far as um, just expression per se. Like it's deep, it's thoughtful, it's provoking. You know, there's some elements for hip hop as it pertains to poetry. There's some elements that's there.
Yeah.
Um,
Becoming a lost art. And
yeah,
nowadays, you find it more prevalent in music than in anything. But yeah, that's kind of where I got my start. Just kind of, I think Edgar Allan Poe was probably the first big influence as far as like wanting to write, because of the things that he wrote and just the places he kind of took you.
yeah. Edgar Allan Poe is nice with it. Very,
Yeah.
very nice. Like,
And I like the fact I was really into, he rhymes a lot of his poetry. Most of his poetry rhymes. That's his mainstream poetry when I was introduced to. So a lot of big poets that we were reading at school in the time, they didn't. It was kind of free verse. It was loose. He was very structured, and it was appealing to hear the way it rolled off the tongue. My mom raised me on like Dr. Seuss and Shel Silverstein and, A Light in the Attic and stuff like that. So I've always been, I think that's how I learn and how I adapt. And that's kind of what piqued my interest for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody ran into a Dr. Seuss book at
Yeah.
some point in their life.
Yeah.
Cat in the Hat for me, that got my attention.
Yeah.
Just and I was young. I was very young, and I wasn't like listening to music heavily until my teen years.
Yeah.
And I guess when I was old enough to listen to certain music, I had to be a little sneaky, listen to music, and my parents don't even notice.
Yeah.
Specifically hip hop. They was okay with pop rock, well, some rock and other genres, like because limited profanity per se.
Yeah.
But the hip hop, I had to like had the headphones on,
Yeah.
and had the little walkie player or something like that. So I want to get to the less beef part, because that's fascinating. Like instead of the traditional microphone face to face interaction, it was just the keyboard game. Like you
Yeah.
have to.
They
That's
it's still a website that runs today. I haven't logged into it in I don't know how many years, but they have a thing where you can actually record your audio and send it back and forth. This was back, I guess, I want to say this was probably 2007, 2006, 2007 is where I first started doing it, and I did it till probably about 2011, maybe 2010. And when I first started, that's if you had a camera on your computer, that was like fly, like you were, what I mean? That's like some craziness. Nowadays, every computer's got a camera attached to it, but
yeah.
and it was a little different. So I didn't have no mic or no video, and they had just started doing those things. But they did have this thing that was called cipher battles or text battles. And so what you would do is you would go in, and when the first time you do it, you're like you're not very good at it, especially texting it. It's hard to do. So you had like 8 bars. You could do 8, 16, or 32. 32 is just way too much. 16's so we would do 8-bar battles. And it starts off, and you just you diss one person. You can put out what's called an open text. So you type up like your best bars, your best disses to nobody. Just, you just dissing an imaginary person, and then somebody can respond to it. So they can pick it up, and now they have the advantage. They can take the things you said and flip them over on you. They can take your words and spin them around, or they may have just had something written too quick, and they just respond to you. And the first person to respond is the person that you lock that battle in with. And so as I started studying people and looking like, okay, so how are they writing it? And how you would do it is everybody had their own style, but you could put like your rhyme schemes in quotation marks. You could capitalize words that were like rhyming, or you could do, if you're going to say something that was a metaphor, like how I would do it is I would put quotations around the metaphors, and then I would do all caps on the rhyme schemes. So now if you're reading it, what parts are rhyming and what parts to read. A lot of people have made it write something really good, but because the way they wrote it, you'll never know it. You don't know what's rhyming with what, or where it's supposed to be insinuated, where is a yell. Some people got really good, and they would type it in with exclamation points and question marks. So when you read it in your head that way. But it was a very unique way of like battling each other, and I got pretty good at it. I think I had like a 74 loss record and a 74 win record. I was like 50-50. But there are points in times, I think still today, if you went and found me, last time I looked, I was still like top 1,000 of all time out of like 180,000 people. So I got pretty good at it. It was definitely fun. It was an experience, a lot of like real beef. People would, you'd beat somebody in the next battle, they'd be in your DMs messaging you. Like it was like game chats on steroids, because people took it personally.
Yeah.
They would go find stuff about you. They'd find your Facebook picture, and then
Oh,
or like
no.
MySpace. They'd go find your MySpace profile, and maybe this person act like they're a thug on the internet, but really they're not at all. Like, oh, it was funny, man. It was a good way to pass the time. So I did that for a few years before I actually made my first microphone out of an Xbox headset. We took the microphone out of it and stuck it in the heat lamp. And then we put foam and cotton on the inside of it, and then took a pantyhose and put it over the edge of the heat lamp. And then we just attach it onto like the closet wall and record in my granny's closet with all the t-shirts behind us for reverb coverage. So yeah, up until then, that's all I knew was just text ciphering.
Text ciphering, yeah, that's quite the face. Nothing says a hard bar than having that last, punchline with a, put in all caps
Yeah,
with exclamation points.
yeah,
It's yeah,
yeah,
that's sticking to them.
yeah.
So that's pretty incredible. And it's quite entertaining too. Um, you know, that's pretty cool. So fast forward to now, you being a part of the hip hop community in the city, the AR, Radar Theory, and a plethora of other artists. Just talk about the scene, the vibe, just interacting with artists, networking with them, performing. How would you describe what's the hip hop scene that's in your city right now?
It's definitely coming alive. I think it still has a long way to go. I think there's a lot of people putting, their toes in the water and trying to fill it out. We live in Abilene is not a very big place, but it's not small either. It's about 2 hours shot from Dallas Fort Worth area, and it's got I think uh, probably about 150,000, maybe closer to 200,000 people into it. So it's not little, but it is conservative. It's very conservative, and a lot of the music that has found a foothold here in Abilene, like most of Texas, has been country music, rock music, not very even heavy rock. We sometimes have some heavy rock artists come and like tour through Abilene, but a lot of it is based on country music. And I think Abilene has, I mean, they've got a church on like every other corner. So, two Christian universities. It's very Christian oriented, and kind of a hard place to make yourself noticeable when it comes to the hip hop community. Most people equate hip hop with violence or drug use or things of that nature, just because of the rap it's been given. For most part, I think people have a hard time distinguishing, like rap or trap music with hip hop and what hip hop is. So as of right now, it seems like there's a lot of people breaking water. There is a studio that I work out of that a handful of other artists do or have. It's called Fallen Far Records. They have the owner's name is Chris Hinojosa. He's really started to kind of emerge as a really good engineer in this area. He's built a very professional studio and a place that's good to go and learn and network with people, and so that I think is a big staple here in town. They have a couple of lounges that are opening up, a couple of event centers, and there's a couple of venues that are actually allowing people to come in and do hip hop based shows, where it wasn't that way for a long time. It's very hard to even get that across to them, or sit down with somebody and have a conversation with them about it. So it's starting to blossom, and it's just going to take artists like myself and AR. We have an artist here named Benny. There's going to be, a handful of people, Radar Theory, coming together and really just trying to water that flower and hope that, something really comes of it. And then, of course, working outside of Abilene. I think all of us have our own hometown or place that we're trying to reach to, or broadcasting towards. I do. I send a lot of music for review to Half Pint Films in Dallas Fort Worth area. I've done a show or two out there. I've done some things to connect there in that area. I'll be traveling to Temple, Texas at the end of this month, into Austin area, to kind of network there and kind of take Abilene with me as I go. Hoping that as we can start turning eyes towards the city, that it'll give us a better chance. So
Yeah, Dallas, Texas, definitely one of the big high market cities,
Yeah.
not just in Texas, but in this country. So at least you're 2 hours away from there. And definitely from what I've heard and from the people I've interviewed in the Abilene area, that there's a scene there. Just a matter of evolving, expanding, and just getting yourself out there. It's possible. We've seen artists in small cities being able to overcome the challenges of being in a small city and thrive. So it's possible. Obviously, just work ethic is going to be a factor, and just being in the right place at the right time, having some luck there. But yeah, I like what I hear in the Abilene, Texas area, and AR definitely uh, keeps me in tune with who's out there. So it's cool to hear artists in different areas and hear different styles and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very hopeful for Abilene, Texas, especially artists like yourself,
Well,
AR, and so very
yeah,
hopeful.
all the support and all the eyes we can get. So I
Yeah,
know speaking on behalf of everybody, we all appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely, man. So let's talk about this record, Average Joe. It's the name of your EP. It's available on all the platforms. Talk a little bit about putting that record together and what made you decide to name it Average Joe.
Well, I when I started up my um like I said, what I would consider, I guess, my professional career, really starting to platform music and take it a little more seriously, I was kind of going towards the way of like, well, I'm gonna try to make music kind of today. I want to make music. Started to listen. I was listening to a lot of music that was new that was coming out, and I was like, I need to make new music, relevant music, music that sounds like it's already on the radio. And so I did that for a while, and I had some success with some of the songs. Some I didn't. Some were good, and some everybody loved, and some were split. Um, but the whole time I was doing it, I was kind of straying away from my roots. Me being from a battle rap era and that area, growing up with people like Ludacris, Lil Wayne, Eminem, um, a lot of Southern rappers, Gucci Man. A lot of those are going to be, um, bar for bar rappers. A lot of them. And it's a lot about that feeling, and especially coming up on battle rap, I love like '90s hip hop. um, I started as I got older getting into things like that, and I was I listened to a lot of beats just to get inspiration and find a vibe. And I started listening to some lo-fi beats, and I was like, I just kind of started hearing things in it, and I put a couple of pieces together. I just started writing to it, and all of a sudden, I found myself like happy. I found myself where the making the music was a little more joyous. It felt familiar. It was me. Um, and so I kind of just scratched the whole idea of like, what, I need to make music that sounds new. I was like, man, what? I'm just going to make music that I like. I'm just going to make music that I like to make. And that's kind of where it went. I started just going through lo-fi beats. I found a couple of them. I started piecing things together, and it was really nice. It was kind of therapeutic, and kind of took me back to the reason why I wanted to get into hip hop. Um, so, and the average Joe piece, actually, my middle name is Joe. My dad's name is Joe. And like I mentioned before, he passed away when I was young. Um, and so really a lot of what the record talks about, it's not a lot of glam and glitz, or it doesn't talk about cars or money or clothes. It's just very it has a little bit of reference to it, but it's really talking about like being humble, and um kind of where I come from, and things like that. So it kind of just felt right. I put it together last minute. It was like just a thought, and it came together the way it came together. I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to run with it. I had different ideas for what I was going to call the tape. First, it was going to be 7 songs, and I was just going to do singles. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put these 4 songs together. Um, and give it that title. And I have an album coming out next year entitled 12. Um, that has to do a lot with my dad. I lost him when I was 12 years old. And so I thought this was a good predecessor for that, to kind of set people up, kind of give them an idea where I come from, what I've been through, to be able to set me up for that album.
I definitely like the fact that you being true to yourself. You go with what you know, what you're familiar with. It's a lot of times that artists like to follow the trends, and it's good, but it could be a risk as well. Um, but you being authentic with yourself and having it, reference and dedicated to your dad, it's very, very inspiring, you know, inspired feel to it. And you definitely in your own lane, being different, sounding different, separate yourself from other artists. And so I've gotten to hear the record a few days ago, and I'm pleased with it. Very, very pleased with the record. I like the punchlines. You definitely going back to your roots there, and metaphors and everything. So you're a true MC, man, and I like what I hear from T Well, and I'm definitely looking forward to this full length album you have coming out in 2023. I see that you released another single called "Gang."
Yeah.
So is that particular song going to be included in the new album for next year?
No, no, that one I released before the EP. It's on Spotify and all the major platforms as well. And no, I released that one kind of as it was kind of a predecessor to the EP itself. I made that one. That's where it kind of started off, with me kind of getting back to my roots, and I used gang, kind of like I did a play on it, talking about like I'm not, obviously, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm not a gang member. I don't, I don't have gang ties, but that my family's my gang. The people you're around, that becomes your gang in the long run. Your family, your friends, your loved ones, the people who are dear to you. So I kind of use all this whole a lot of violent talk around it, and a lot of people, gang, gang, gang. I was like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Here's my introduce you to my gang.
I think people that actually listen to it definitely understood it. It feels like that gang has been such a negative term for so many years, and now it's like nowadays it's looked in a more positive light. It could be your friends, it could be your family,
Yeah,
co-workers.
even back in, I kind of thought about it back in like the 40s and 50s, whenever media was starting to happen, black and white was around. People were like, "It's me and the gang." Like, there's a lot of like uppity, like back then, uppity white people were using the word gang in a whole different terminology. It wasn't like gang shit. It was, it's me and the gang, me and the boys.
Yeah,
Uh, Come join the gang. And so I kind of played off it that way as well. Like, yeah, it's kind of, words are words, man. It's just a matter of what you do with them.
yeah. It's just the key word is how you use it,
Yeah.
and the tone that goes with it. Uh, so check out T Well, the EP, Average Joe, name of the project. It's available on all the platforms. Be on the lookout for his full length album 2023. So you got that going. You got a show coming up. You mentioned a little bit earlier. When is that show and where is it located?
I don't have a show coming up actually. We're looking to do some events here in Abilene. Probably just more, not as much show oriented. We'll probably
Yeah.
host like meet and greet style events, but I do have this um, this next weekend. I will be shooting. I'll be a part of a film that's in Dallas Fort Worth area. The Half Pint Films is shooting. I'll be playing a small role in what seems to be a feature length movie. And they're going to have a couple of actors in it. Lil Ronnie's going to be in it. He's a hip hop artist from Dallas Fort Worth area. There's going to be Half Pint himself is going to be in it. There's going to be quite a few characters in it. It's supposed to be seems to be like it's going to be a funny movie, man. It looks like it's going to be a fun project to be a part of, and so I have that coming up, and then like I said, I'm going to Temple at the end of this month, Temple and Austin, to work with a producer who is in Temple by the name of Siwaka. He's worked with a handful of Texas artists as well, and then to meet with another producer and engineer. So really, this end of this year is going to be a lot about networking. It's putting the pieces in the right place so that next year when I do my rollout, I've got a year's worth of experience, and I can kind of run it from there. As far as shows, getting out into the public, I have a daughter on the way as well, so kind of trying to work all of the pieces into place before the rollout.
You definitely are in for a busy remainder of the year with
Yeah,
music and a child's on the way. So congrats in advance to
thank
that. Thank you, T Well, for being on the show tonight,
yes, sir.
or technically afternoon, your
Yeah,
Central Standard Time. I'm in the quote unquote early evening stage. Thank you, man. Great chatting with you, and
man.
let's link up. Let's link up again once this new album drops, and
Yeah,
go on from there.
that sounds like a plan, man.
Yeah. So take
All
care,
right,
man. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as well.
yes, sir.
All right.
All right, you have a good one.
You too. All right.